Are you tired of liberal values and the woke culture promoting inequalities and gender confusion? Do you see the future of your family and children in a traditional society? Are you tired of the pressure of Western agenda? Well, now there is a solution. You can move to Russia under a simplified pathway, which is the decree, the presidential decree number 702, signed in 2024. Let's dive into some details. What does this document imply? Well, the presidential decree attracts quality immigration of foreigners that share traditional Russian values. And furthermore, and maybe what's more important, under this decree, you as an immigrant are offered a simplified way of obtaining the temporary residence permit, the TRP, in Russia. Who is this program for? It has a limited number of countries. It's entitled for 47 countries, which include the USA, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, almost all European countries, some Asian countries like Japan, and Korea. Well, now let's see what does a simplified procedure here mean. Well, the simplified procedure implies that immigrating under this decree, you don't have to pass the comprehension exam as before. The exam means that you confirm the knowledge of the Russian language, of law and history. Well, now it's not really needed. The second strong point is that you also don't compete for the TRP quota. What does that mean? Well, beforehand, you had to apply for a TRP quota, so you were, let's say, standing in line for a chance to apply for the temporary residence permit. Now, if you move under the decree, if you state that you agree with traditional Russian values, you don't have to do that either. And what's more here, if you have never been to Russia, if that's your, let's say, your first time, you start your path with choosing our country and just trying to do that in a row and just move. There is a special, maybe also simplified visa, the private visa that you get. So now it's really way easier to come to Russia under this decree. There are also some strong points of this program. Well, first of all, it has been launched almost 1 year ago now in 2024 in September. So by that time, it already has been tested out, which means that there will be less hassle. First of all, like the embassies where you apply for the visa, they are already familiar with the procedure. There are cases, successful cases of the expats who already came to Russia. And what's more, it promotes the quality immigration, so you are very welcome, especially if you plan to start the business or maybe if you are a highly qualified professional. So now let's see, what do we mean under the traditional values here? Well, it can be described in simple formulas like having a strong family, a strong nuclear family, if you like, which means that we see the marriage as the partnership of a man and a woman. We really appreciate the traditional society, meaning that we see the future of our children. We raise our children in traditional values, which means that we do not appreciate early stages when you try to impose the sexual confusion on children, explaining that there are like 1 trillion of other genders. Well, here we don't have that. We see boys and girls developing as boys and girls. Well, next value that we can name here is appreciating going to church. It's not shamed, and we share the traditional confessions. We value being Orthodox, Catholic, Protestant, and again, we do not shame that. You are very welcome to follow the confession that you are in. Well, next we can talk about hard and honest work. I don't know, maybe nothing more to add here. Last but not least, we do not promote racism, and what's more, the Russian culture and history shows that we always included many nationalities inside our big country. Well, that changed throughout the years, but nonetheless. And we can say that the pinnacle of this policy has been the formula of friendship of nations that you may be familiar with. So we might seem cold at first, but we are very welcoming. Now that we have discussed a little bit what traditional Russian values mean, let's go to the practical steps. So what do you do if you feel like you agree with this list, if you want to move to Russia and if you want to apply for the presidential decree program for the TRP then? Well, first of all, you have to get the visa. Then you come and you apply for the TRP in person. And the third step is registering already in Russia at the region where you applied for the TRP. So let's start with the visa part here. So as I have mentioned, there are different types of visas that you can apply for, but let's start with the single entry private visa. You apply for this type of visa at the embassy, at the Russian embassy or consulate general of your country. This means that you obtain a visa, the single entry for 3 months, and then already being in Russia, you apply for the TIP with the Ministry of Internal Affairs. But that's not the only way to come to Russia and apply for the TRP. For example, you can apply with the tourist visa, with the electronic visa, but you have to check the website of the Russian embassy at your country because there is a limited number of countries who can apply for this type of visa. And finally, here there is another note. If you already have the work visa in Russia, you can also apply for the TRP. And the main advantage here is that no matter which type of visa you have here, when you apply for the TRP, the visa is extended. So you won't be kicked out of Russia for this whole period when your documents are being treated, when the procedure goes on, so you can come and stay comfortably and wait for the decision to be made. We also have a little pro tip here. If you are not really familiar with the region where you want to move, and here it's important because when you apply for the TRP, you apply for a particular region. For example, if you come to Kazan and you apply for the TRP, that means that you will stay in Kazan for some time. So you won't be able to come to Kazan first and then stay for the whole time in Moscow. Well, the pro tip is if you're not really familiar with the region, you can come and check it out first, maybe with the tourist visa, and then come to the decision if you want to move in this region or maybe another one. So let's go down the rabbit hole a little bit with the visas. As I have mentioned, you have different ways of applying, but I suggest we consider the private visa. So what are your steps when you get your private 90-day single entry visa? First of all, we suggest you check your embassy or consulate general, the website, of course. A little tip here how to find the website in an easy way. So you either type the name of your country, for example, belgium.mid.ru. Either you type, for the consulate general, you type the name of the second largest city and then .mid.ru. For example, for Belgium, it has been the Antwerp.mid.ru. So that's how you find the website easily. What documents do you need to bring with you to apply for this type of visa? Well, first of all, it's the visa application with a photo. You also need the health insurance. You need your foreign passport that has clear pages for the visa. And a important note here is that it has to be valid for 6 months from the date of the end of the visa. So you count 90 days plus half a year here. Also, there is a note, if you reside in a different country than your homeland, you also need the permanent residence permit, so the PRP, of the country you reside in. So that's the list. Always double check with the embassy or with the consulate general for this document package. So here you take the visa to apply for the TRP. The next step, applying for the TRP, will also require you have the certificate of the absence or the presence of the criminal record. So we suggest you obtain this certificate while you are still in the country you reside in or in your home country. So that would be just easier with the next step. So how much does this visa cost? Well, you check with the embassy or the consulate general, but normally, let's take Europe. For Europe, it should be around 80 euros. And your visa is considered within the period of 4 to 20 days, 20 business days max. So bear that in mind when applying. And a little but important side note here, bear in mind that you might be invited for an interview. It's just the procedure to get to know you better, to get to know you as a person. And also you might be required to bring some additional documents by the diplomatic staff. There's nothing much to be stressed about here. So now, having discussed the first step about the visas, let's move on to the second step, which is applying for the TRP. And here, if you are still in doubts about it, let's add up some reasons to getting the TRP. Well, first of all, you are free to move, free to come and go to the country. As now you have to stay in Russia for the total of 180 days, but the rest of it, well, you're free to travel basically. Well, the second reason is you can get the free medical care. If anything happens to you, you can go to the medical institutions in Russia while already having your TRP. And maybe the most important here is that you can open your own business and become the individual entrepreneur, or you can work in the region where you applied for when you received your TRP without having the patent to work or without having the work permit. The next logical step is to discuss the list of the documents you will need when applying for the TRP. Well, first of all, again, the important note here is that you apply in the region where you plan to stay. So if you have chosen Moscow, you apply in Moscow. If you chose another region, another city, another town, you have to apply there. So here's the list of the documents you will need. Well, first of all, it's your passport. And then you have to get the notarized translation of all pages of the passport. You will need the migration form. You will need your visa if issued on a separate form. You will need the notification slip of registration at the address that you are staying. Here, there is also a tip, a side note. You may receive this slip even at the hotel, so it is possible, and you are not obliged to find a flat or home beforehand, so you can arrive, apply for the TRP in the region while staying at a hotel, and then choose where to stay, like permanently. You won't be living in the hotel for 3 years, obviously. You will need the police clearance certificate with apostille and notarized translation into Russian. Again, a lot of translation is needed. You need several white or color photos. The minimum is 2 photos, but we suggest you bring more, like 6 maybe. You need the medical exam on the absence of drugs or psychotropic substances, the medical exam on the absence of dangerous infectious diseases, and the residence permit if you were staying in another country than your homeland. And of course, you have to pay the state tax. So the state tax here will be less than $25, and you bring the receipt. So finally, having obtained your TRP, the third step would be to register at the region where you are staying, and then you have the ability to proceed further with obtaining the permanent residence permit, and then applying for the citizenship. So the question here is, can we say that the presidential decree touches upon the citizenship? And here we would say that it's either yes and no, because it doesn't touch upon the citizenship directly, but it definitely does make the procedure easier. So you skip lots of steps in the beginning when you are having your visa, when you're applying for the visa, and when you get the TRP. So if all that information feels already like too much of a burden, no worries, we here at LR Consulting are here to help. Feel free to get in touch with us. You can find all the contact details in the description. And don't forget to hit follow to see more videos on tips how to move to Russia and some useful information about the life in our country.